Hello and welcome back to Sarbach Piano, your specialist for restored pianos in Switzerland. Today I will share with you some details about my Erard concert grand piano. It's 2.60 m long, so it's a full concert size. It has 88 keys and it is from 1885 or something like this. I don't know it exactly actually, but it's not so important. Erard, if you don't know it, was the leading piano company in the 19th century, and Sebastian Erard, you can also check this out on Wikipedia, was the inventor of the modern piano action, and he invented this part called Erard spring, the double repetition spring. So the Erads, even though they are much more than 100 years old, they have a modern action because the inventor of the modern action built them. And they're also quite modern pianos in the scale design, but they're straight strung and they don't have this modern one-piece steel plate. They are made with iron parts screwed together. So they have a little bit different sound than today's piano. Also the strings are not the same thickness and not the same length, of course. But in the 19th century, all great composers, I would say, and all pianists knew and had Erard pianos. I know for sure that Richard Wagner had Erard on its home like this, where he composed, or Brahms. Franz Liszt, of course, also had Erard. He had also other pianos, I must say, but Erard was one of his favorite pianos. You can almost everybody. Also, Beethoven already had an Erard, but of course not really the same. It was an early form, and Chopin had some Erads, also a little bit different models, a little bit earlier than this. This is the same model, I would say, as Wagner had. It's a little bit later, and these models were built up to also in the early 20th century, because this was just the model, you know. But it does not fit in the modern concert. It's not so loud. It doesn't have the power. Also, the mechanic is a little bit difficult to regulate. It takes more work. So on the restoration of this piano, I was really happy to receive it in totally original condition. There was nothing done on this piano. So these Erads, if they are more than 100 years old, of course, and they are played, and then they travel to this point and are restored again. Many of these pianos are really ruined. But this one, it was just stored somewhere. There was no tension on the strings. They were just rusty, but there was no tension. That's good, because if there's always this tension, you know, it tends to stress the piano. But it was just stored. And the moth, they eat all the felt. Yeah. But the wood was totally okay. There's no holes in the wood. It's good, and also the veneer is perfectly, as you will see on the pictures. Then there was some black color on it. I think it was original, but the wood below the color was so beautiful. So I didn't paint it black again. It's just, you will see it. So of course I had to change the rusty strings. The pin block was perfect, so I just put in new pins, and the second size, so very small pins. Now you could change them again and again. Then the soundboard, of course, I had to shim. I dried it down really hard and put it some really big shims. Then the bridges, they're really perfect, and I just didn't change them, because I see many Erads, they are just over restored, you know. And if the bridge is, as on a modern piano, so high, and you have all this tension on the soundboard, they stop to sing. And I just wanted as less bridge pressure as possible, and now it's just a little bit, but not more. And so this piano really sings. The strings I put on not the normal modern strings, but it's retro parallel strings, different types. I measured all the strings, and I sent it to Stefan Paolello, and he sent me a calculation which type of strings are the best. You calculate this by, you take, often on old pianos you take a softer material that breaks earlier, not as strong as today, because if you go near to the breaking point of a string, it vibrates better, because you always have to find this point where the string swings best. This is, today you make this with computer, just calculation. And Paolello, he wants really to reconstruct the old strings. He has like 5 or 6 different types, and here I followed his instructions. I'm not an expert in this. Then the lacquer on the soundboard on these old pianos, I usually do it like this. I scratch it off where it has to be taken off, and then I resolve it in alcohol. And then I paint the whole board with alcohol, and I mix the old and the new the old lacquer and the scratched off lacquer, so I can restore the lacquer somehow, because it's solvable in alcohol. You can also take it completely off, then solve it and put it back on. This is just this old soundboard lacquer. You can do this with the newer 2-component stuff, and so of course. So you can say this, the acoustic is really original, as it can be original, and it sings so beautiful. It's really the most beautiful Erard I heard in live, and also on internet. I didn't hear such a deep singing Erard. Then the mechanic was a big work, as I said. The felts are all eaten by moth, and this is the most time-consuming work. If you have to, every lever and every key, you must scratch out the old felt, then find the one that fits, then glue it in, then put all together again 88 times, and then see it works, put it out, fix it, and also damping, all these springs that were so rusty, they broke, so I had to replace old springs. So I make the new springs out of piano wire, then make the spring, put it in, honestly said, on this mechanic I was several weeks working on this. Also then the keys and everything, then the regulation. So you can say now it's really finished, as good as I can do it, and it's almost new, like new. And also the case is now so beautiful. It was black, and I think it was original black probably, but the wood under the black color is so beautiful. So of course I didn't paint it black again, but I just put on shellac polish. Now it's really shining with this beautiful wood. You will see it on the restoration video. So now let's check out the restoration, and of course in the end you will also hear my Erard concert. These are the totally rusty strings and the destroyed dampers before restoration. Here you see the mechanic totally taken apart with the totally destroyed felts. Here you see the mechanic with the new felts. Then I put the mechanic back together. Here I have to glue on a little felt on the X, and then the mechanic is clipped in. This is the case on all old pianos. Today they are not connected like this, because this is too big work, I think, but it doesn't really make a difference to the modern system. And all axes are lubricated with Teflon, modern Teflon lubricant, just to be sure. And then this is done for all 88 levers. Here the key bushings are replaced. You see in front of the yellow arrows the front and the middle bushing of every key, so the total almost 200 bushings to replace. Finally, the keys have to be leveled. You see this key is below the other keys, the one I'm moving. So this is done by putting in some paper, and here I have a collection of papers from 0.01 millimeter to 0.5 millimeter, and here I take a 0.2, I think. They have different colors, and if I'm lucky this is correct, and if this key is correct I continue with all the other keys, of course. Here you see the replacement of the damper bushings. So the hole is cleaned, then I cut the new felt, the exact length, and then it's glued in, and here you just see the result, so the damper can move precise in this hole. And this video is in 4x speed. I cannot work this fast, unfortunately, and it also has to be done for all 60 dampers, so it's I would say a whole day of work. Here I put on a new string, so I make a loop, then I wind it around, I hang it into the frame, then the new oversized tuning pin is winded around and hammered in, then the string is placed and finished. So this is done for all about 200 strings. Here I show just 2 steps of the regulation. First I bend the so-called back check, defines where the hammer is captured when it comes back from the strings. On modern pianos this is behind the hammer, but here there's not enough space, so it's a little bit different. Then I bend the spring that brings the hammer back, the Erard spring, so it has more power and brings the hammer back up again. Finally, I show you some pictures of the case. Here you see as it was black, and here you see the very nice wood with shellac polishing. Here we have a close-up from the front side, the music stand. It also came out very beautiful. Here you see a picture after the restoration, also the fallboard, of course. Then we have another picture of the case before restoration and afterwards. But you don't see it. There were many broken parts on the rim. I also had to rebuild. This is the inside of the piano before and after. And now let's listen to the piano. Thank you for watching. you.